All right, I'll start with why can't I see any of you all? I just see the agenda. I don't see anyone. Wait, is it just because Dan? Oh, there we go. Never mind. I just saw Dan's with no one there. All right. Um, everyone, welcome to the MPO meeting for the Old Colony MPO of December 17th. I'll start with the accessibility statement, Title VI non-discrimination statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. If you would like this accommodation, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. And the notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is included on this meeting's agenda. It's available on the Old Colony Planning Council website at OLDCOLONYPLANNING.org/. And again, if you need any of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. With that, Charlie, you want to read the roll?
Yes, Steve Wolfel.
Steve Wolfel, representing Secretary and CEO of MassDOT. Monica Tippett's not here.
Barbara LaChance.
Barbara LaChance here, representing Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
John Messia.
John Messia, representing City of Brockton, Mayor Sullivan.
Lee Hartman. I see Lee in the attendee list, but Dan Salvucci.
Lee Hartman, Town of Plymouth.
Thank you. Dan Salvucci.
Present.
Mike Lambert.
Present.
Thank you. And then I see Mary Waldron representing President Becky Coletta.
Here. Present.
And then I'd also like to recognize former signatory Michael Perez. He concluded his tenure on the MPO at the end of October, but staff and I'm sure the MPO extends their support and gratitude for Vice Chair Perez for serving on the MPO.
President, I'm here. Thank you.
Yep. And
Thanks,
yep, we do have a quorum present.
All right, let's move to the next agenda item. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the MPO today?
Chair Wolfel, this is Joshua Barber, Federal Highway Administration.
Oh, did we forget? Did Charlie forget you guys again? Charlie.
Okay.
Yeah, I got coal in my stocking. My apologies to the ex officio members. So Federal Highway, I believe we have Josh Barber on the call today.
Yep.
And Eric Emperline.
Eric Emperline, thank you. Yep. And do we have Peter Butler from the Federal Transit Administration or any Federal Transit Administration representation?
Hi, yes, this is Kirsty Tirandazzi representing FTA Region 1.
Great, thank you. Welcome. And do we have Noreen O'Toole, the chair of the Joint Transportation Committee? We do not. And standing in Dan Salvucci is the vice chair of the JTC, so he's wearing, I believe, 2 hats today at the meeting.
Yeah, I'm wearing 2 hats. Yeah.
Welcome, Dan.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, if Charlie, if you do get coal in your stocking, we will know why. It's from the feds.
Okay. It won't be the first time. So. No. Gonna need a bigger stocking.
Exactly. All right. Any other members of the public like to address the MPO today? All right. Seeing none, let's move to agenda item 3, which are the minutes from November 19th. Can I get a motion, a second, to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion, Dan from Whitman.
Second, Mike Perez.
All right. Any changes or comments on the minutes?
Nope.
All right. Charlie, please read the roll. Charlie, you're muted.
Extra coal for me. So Steve Wolfel.
Yes.
Barbara LaChance.
Yes.
John Messia.
Yes.
Lee Hartman.
Yes.
Dan Salvucci.
Yes.
Mike Lambert.
Yes.
And Mary Waldron.
We do not have coal at OCPC, so yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right. Thanks for that. We'll now move on to agenda item 4, which is an update from BAT. Michael, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. 3 categories of updates today: operations, planning, and coordination. Operations, couple milestones to report on. First is that our battery electric buses are in revenue service, so keep your eyes out for those if you're in town, particularly on the Brockton to Stoughton route. Second is some good news to report out of Rockland. Our microtransit service hit a new weekly high in the first week in December of 381 trips, including a 77 trip day, which was far and away a record for them. But that is great to see, and we're hoping that continues to climb. We're starting our capital planning process, which obviously will filter forward into this esteemed body for review via the TIP. But stay tuned for that, and you should see some more electric buses on that CIP. And then from a coordination point of view, I don't see Mary Ellen on here, but GATRA is taking the lead in two different areas. One is bus service to complement South Coast Rail when that opens. And of course, BAT is working closely with her on that. And she is also taking lead on World Cup transportation planning for the southern region. And so we are standing by to be told what we need to do for that when that comes around in a couple of years. And that is my update, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Michael? All right, seeing none, thank you, Michael. All right, let's move on to agenda item 5, which is updates from GATRA. Anyone here from GATRA? All right, seems like no, Charlie. So let's move on to agenda item 6, which is updates from District 5. Barbara, I assume you're going to do this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll give you some project updates. First project we have is Easton. It's Route 138 and Elm Street intersection improvement projects. We are still waiting for a PS&E submission on this one. This project is being held up right now just because of an order of condition was appealed by MassDOT. So we are waiting to hear back from DEP, and the PS&E submission will be submitted once we hear back from them. Next is Brockton intersection improvements at 123 and Plymouth Street. And we have it's currently at 25%. We have a revised 25% due any day now, this month. So hopefully soon. Next, we have Stoughton corridor improvements on 138 from the Canton Town Line to Charles Ave, this is phase 2. We received the PS&E revision 1 in December and completed it in actually on the 16th. So moving forward with that project. Next, we have Abington intersection improvements at Hancock and Chestnut Streets. I'm probably a little out of order here on my list is a little different from yours. My apologies. Currently at 75%. Review has been completed. I'm not sure if we've done a 75% common resolution meeting yet, but hold that. And then we have the 100% anticipated in February. Then we have Brockton intersection improvements at Lyman Grove Summer Street, including the replacement of the Grove Street Bridge. Currently at 25% with a revision 1 for the 25s due the end of January. Next project is Avon intersection improvements at Route 28, Spring Street and Harrison Boulevard. We did we had a new, 25% design submission that was reviewed. The review was completed in early November. And I believe we still need to have a comment resolution meeting for this, a site walk and a revised DJW prior to the design public hearing being held. And next we have Kingston, Duxbury intersection improvements at Route 3A ramps northbound and southbound. Route 3 ramps northbound and southbound with Route 3. And this is currently less than 25% with the 25% submission due mid-January next year. And next we have Duxbury Bridge replacement, Powder Point Ave over Duxbury Bay. Still in preliminary design phase. We just received a submission this morning, actually, for the bridge type study workbook, and it is currently under review by us for that project. Abington intersection improvements at Randolph Street, Richard Fitz Drive, which is Route 139 at Chestnut Street and Old Randolph Street. Currently, this is at pre-25. We finished the review for that in end of October. And we have a a public informational meeting scheduled for January 22nd for that project. And let's see, next we have Kingston Bridge replacement, Smith Lane over Route 3. This one here is currently We had done an ice stage 2 review over the summer, and we are waiting for the one that won't listen to me, the hundreds, the 25% mid-January of next year. Next, we have Stoughton intersection improvements at Cannon Street, which is Route 27, School Street, and Summer Street. It's at 25%. Our review has been completed, and we have a comment resolution meeting scheduled for mid-January, January 17th, for that project. Next, we have Brockton intersection improvements at 123 Pearl and Stonehill is currently in the ice phase, and we expect ice stage 2 to be submitted in mid-January. Next is Hanover corridor improvements 139 at Main Center and Silver Streets. Project informational meeting was just held on December 5th for this project, and we anticipate the 25% in July of next year. And next we have Abington intersection improvements at Route 18 and Route 123. This one here is currently at less than 25%. We reviewed the pre-25% road plan and it came in late October, and we completed the review in mid-November, and we anticipate the 25% design submission in February of 25, early February. And then we have Duxbury intersection improvement at 53 and Franklin Street. Currently, it's in the ice phase, and we expect ice stage 2 to be submitted January 21st, so late January next year, and with the pre-25 anticipated in early spring for that. And I think that's it for my updates.
All right, any questions for Barbara? All right, thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 7, tip information. So I will turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Chair. So you'll recall at the last MPO meeting, we presented a draft amendment 1 to the FFY 2025 to 2029 tip. So this amendment was to program in 4 federal grants that were received in the region through the bipartisan infrastructure law. 3 of those being in Brockton. So a SMART grant for downtown Brockton, a RAISE grant also for downtown Brockton, a Safe Streets for All grant for a implementation demonstration project, 3 intersections on Main Street, and finally a culvert replacement project for a culvert in downtown, near downtown Plymouth. So that went out to a public review and comment period immediately following that MPO meeting. That was legally advertised in both the Brockton Enterprise and the Patriot Ledger. It was also publicized in our own contact list. It was presented to the Old Colony Joint Transportation Committee at their meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they approved the amendment as presented. And that was our one public comment, the approval from the JTC. Otherwise, we have no other public comments at this time. And so at this time, I'd ask this board to consider endorsing Amendment 1 to the FFY 2025 to 2029 tip.
All right, can I get a motion, a second, to endorse tip amendment number 1, please?
I'll make that motion, Dan from Whitman. Lee Hartman, second.
All right, any questions for Bill?
No.
All right, seeing no questions. Charlie, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfle,
Yes.
Barbara LaChance,
Yes.
John Messiah,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Mike Lambert,
Yes.
Mary Waldron,
Yes.
and just double checking Tyler Bouchard. I don't believe he's on. Okay, motion carries.
All right, thank you, Bill. We're on to the next agenda item, which is also, I believe, a bill item, which is agenda item 8, which is the TIP, transportation valuation criteria. Bill, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. So as we move into the development of the new tip, which will be FFY 2026 through 2030, we thought it was apropos at this time to come before both the Joint Transportation Committee and this board to talk about the project programming process and how that goes about, and largely how we rate and evaluate projects against each other is the transportation evaluation criteria. So if you just want to go to the next page, Sean. So you can see you may recall about a year ago, we updated the evaluation criteria we used. It used to be this 18-point base system. Through division, we come up with a 100 point base score, but it was originally like 18 points in a variety of categories. We undertook a internal review. We updated that. We looked at other MPOs, not only in the Commonwealth, but across the country, and how they did evaluation criteria. And so we came up with this 100-point system that went through a robust review and comment process. So you can see at the top of your report there how the 100 points is distributed. So system preservation and modernization, that gets at up to 30 points. Safety gets up to 30 points. And then mobility, economic impact, consistency with communities, consistency with policies and community support, and environmental impacts. Those all get upwards of 10 points each, so that the maximum of 100 points can be received for a project. And the way this is scored is so I won't go through the criteria is included in your report, but basically, so there's a variety of checklists that we go through under each category. So safety can get anywhere from like -1 to up to 30 points, depending on the level of magnitude that project improve. Excuse me, improve safety. So that's how we go about it. I will note that. Excuse me for 1 second. I will note that you may have heard that Old Colony Planning Council received a grant from the federal Department of Transportation for a prioritization process pilot program. We were one of 16 entities in the country that received such a grant. So this TEC will be going through another review under this grant, working with a contractor, and excuse me, over the next 2 years. Thank you. Over the next 2 years, we'll be reviewing this, and not just the tip, but all of our 3C products. So the long range plan, the public participation program, and our management system. So we'll be reviewing all this and looking how this could possibly be upgraded. So I apologize, I'm losing my voice. So we'll be looking at this, and this could possibly change. And obviously we working with the JTC and and this board as well going forward as we initiate this process. But that's exciting news, and we're very excited to be working on this. So the process for initiating a project through the TIP. So the municipality, well, it's just the project proponent, because it could be mass up. The project proponent initiates the project. It goes through project review committee. If the project review committee deems it an appropriate project and viable, it goes forward. And then that's the point where we start evaluating the project using the evaluation criteria. And the evaluation criteria is an important tool in determining how we program projects, but it's not the only tool. Obviously, project readiness, community support, all this, as well as overall available funding, goes about how we program these projects. So it is a competitive process, as everyone knows. But that's how, excuse me, sorry. That's how this is, that's how the tip is put together. So I'm always happy to discuss tip. If anyone ever has any questions, you can reach out to me. And so that's my presentation for now. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? All right.
Thank you.
Bill. Go rest your voice.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Yeah,
all right. So next agenda item, I believe, is agenda item 9, which is the Old Colony congestion management process. And I'm not sure who's doing it, so whoever's doing it should take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's me. For anyone who may not know me, my name is Sean Bailey. I'm one of the senior transportation planners here at Old Colony Planning Council, and one of the programs that I manage is our congestion management process, which entails, among other things, twice a year in the months of April and October, visiting our commuter rail stations and park and ride lots in our region and conducting biannual utilization counts to see how well utilized the parking lots are at the locations. So to start things off, we'll address the commuter rail parking trends. As with every visit that we've had since COVID, we anticipated a continued increase in utilization from the previous count. Only the April 2023 count had a decrease from the previous count in the years since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. There was an uncertainty of how well utilized the Campello station would be, with some road work that was on Montello Street near the station that was causing some road closures and detours at the time. There was a total of just under 3,900 total vehicles at all 15 commuter rail locations, which was 81.5% of the 5-year pre-COVID average. And for the first time since before the COVID pandemic, we had more than one facility that met the 85% threshold for being considered a congested facility. And here's a overview of all of the stations. And as you can see on the right side of your screen, Canton Junction and Stoughton were the two locations that met the 85% threshold. Canton Junction was just under 93.5% utilized, and Stoughton was just over 87.5% utilized. And here's a look at the previous 10 years for the commuter rail utilization. Any fields that are highlighted in yellow are at or above 85% utilization. And as you can see, before the COVID pandemic, there was a good variety of locations that met the 85% threshold, and up until October 2023, during the COVID, or since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, no facility had met that threshold. And here's a total utilization percentage for all of the lines. Purple is the total percent utilization for each visit, and then the orange line is the 5-year pre-COVID average. And as you can see, since April 2020, the commuter rail has overall been going in the right direction. Like I said previously, with the exception of April 2023, which did have a dip. And so an overview, or in review, 8 of the 15 stations saw an increase from the previous count, ranging from 2.9% increase at Canton Junction and just over 35% at the Kingston station. 2 of the 3 commuter rail lines saw an overall increase, and across the board there was an overall increase of 0.5% from the April count. Canton Junction continued to be the highest total vehicles parked, as well as the highest utilization percentage. When the Bridgewater station was visited, we noticed that there was a capacity reduction in the available parking spaces by 131 spots that is being reserved for Bridgewater State resident students only, in the line of vehicles that are on the outer edge of the lot adjacent to a couple of dormitory buildings. And the combined utilization of all of the commuter rail lines was 53.7%, compared to 65.8 of the 5-year pre-COVID average. And swapping over to the park and ride trends, just like commuter rail, we expected a continued increase. Just like commuter rail, there was one count since the COVID pandemic that had a decrease from the previous count, which was October 2022. The Bourne Park and Ride lot right next to the Sagamore Bridge has been slowly trending towards 85% utilization, just hasn't hit that mark quite yet. And there was just under 700 total vehicles parked at all 5 locations, which was 57.7% of the 5-year pre-COVID average. Here's an overall look at the results from this past October. As previously mentioned, Bourne was inching towards the 85% threshold. They were just under 78%. And they, like Canton Junction for the commuter rail station, Bourne has been the highest utilized lot for park and rides. And here's a look at the last 10 years. Just like with the commuter rail, any fields highlighted in yellow are at or above 85% utilized. And unfortunately, since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, none of the park and ride lots have hit the 85% threshold. But if you take a look at the line for Bourne, you can see they are working their way back towards 85%. And we hope to see that location hit the 85% threshold in the coming years. Here's a look at the overall percent utilization for all of the park and ride lots. Just like with the commuter rail, the orange bar is the 5-year pre-COVID average, comparing to all of the other years, all of the other locations all the other times that we visited. And in review, only 2 of the 5 lots saw an increase, 2.8% at Bourne and 9.3% at Plymouth. Unfortunately, both corridors did see a decrease in overall utilization, and the overall utilization across the board did decrease by 3.2%. Just like with the commuter rail, like I said previously, Bourne has been the highest total number and percent utilization amongst all the locations visited, excuse me. And there has been a fluctuation in utilization since 2022, kind of going back and forth between increase and decrease. And the combined total utilization for all the park and ride lots was just under 55% compared to the 5-year pre-COVID average of 86.6%. And that is my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me?
All right. Lee Hartman, so did this go out? I did not see it. I'd love to get this if you can email it to us.
Yes, I can email this to you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you, Sean. Any other questions for Sean or comments?
I see Kirsty has her hand raised.
Yes,
All right, go
and
ahead.
sorry, excuse my ignorance, but could you talk a little bit more about for the park and ride lots, what's that secondary mode of transportation that folks are usually taking from there? Is it carpool? Are they getting on a bus?
So 4 of the 5 locations that we visit do have bus service. The one location that does not have bus service is the Bridgewater lot, the Route 24, exit 24, the Route 104. That one, that is kind of what's presumed is that location is used for carpooling. But for all of the other locations, carpooling is most definitely a possibility. But like I said, the West Bridgewater lot and then the Rockland, Plymouth, and Bourne lot locations all do have Peter Pan bus service, and the 3 locations on the Route 3 corridor, Rockland, Plymouth, and Bourne, also have sorry, I just said Peter Pan. They have Plymouth and Brockton bus service as well.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for Sean? All right. Thank you, Sean. All right, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is administrative matters, other business, and date and time of next meeting. So, Charlie, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just want to follow up on Lee Hartman's inquiry. We did post the presentation to the chat, so you can download it there. But we also included it in the staff report as well, which is earlier up in the chat. It's the entire staff report that you see before you. So our first announcement, before we get into the formal stuff, I'd like to take a moment on behalf of Old Colony Planning Council. I'd like to thank the MPO for a wonderful year. We've had 10 meetings and appreciate your attention, planning, and attention to detail over the years, and enthusiasm for developing the 3C document cycle. I know it's a lot of meetings, but it's certainly worth the collaboration, and there's a lot of projects being put out on the street in terms of safety, congestion, transit. So, a sincere thank you from the staff here to the MPO and also to the public that attends these meetings as well. Thank you. So our first formal announcement is registration is open for the MassDOT Innovation Conference. It's being held in May at the DCU Center in Worcester. And the early bird rate ends on January 10th. Next slide. So this week on Wednesday night at 6 p.m., I believe, MassDOT is hosting a public information meeting on the Vulnerable Road User Systematic Safety Project, state-owned bus stop locations. And there's a link in your staff report to attend this. And certainly appreciate the efforts of MassDOT and working to improve safety at bus stop locations. Next slide. So this is something that, as you heard Bill McNulty speak to earlier, I'd like to take a moment to recognize our grant writer and extraordinaire, Paul Amano, who's, I don't think he's on the call today, but he was certainly instrumental in submitting this application, and team here worked to provide Paul the information and the ideas on, the concept, but he really pulled the information together and submitted the application. So we look forward to working with not only the MPO, the JTC, but also our federal partners, Federal Highway and Federal Transit, and of course MassDOT in this process. We believe it'll be a interesting and collaborative process over the upcoming 2 years. And beyond those partners, we're also going to be working with Brockton Area Transit and potentially GATRA as well. So next slide. So speaking of federal discretionary grants, here's some information on actually 2 grants. One is the Protect program. The NOFO is out right now, and application deadline is February 24th. Next slide. And our second one is the RAISE grant. This has been in its current iteration for several years now, but you might recognize similar types of programs and projects under previous names, such as the Tiger Grant or the BUILD program. And the applications for this are due in January. Next slide. And one of the things that the Governor Healy administration has done, and it's been implemented for a while now, but it's continuing its effort to help make Massachusetts competitive in these federal grants. And it's not only transportation grants, there's EPA grants, HUD grants, CDBG grants as well. So what they have is typically a monthly meeting where they have guest speakers and talk about funding opportunities, and we certainly encourage communities and potential responders to these NOFOs attend these meetings, as we find them to be very helpful and informative. The next meeting is January 28th at 2 o'clock. There's a registration link in your staff report. And once you sign up for that, you can also sign up to receive their monthly newsletters and information. So next slide. And as we roll into the new year, 2025, here's a list of, please save the date for a series of MPO meetings. And these meetings are particularly critical during this time frame, because this is when the MPO really works to craft the 3C documents, being the Transportation Improvement Program, which is the 5-year program of capital and operational assistance, and then also the Unified Planning Work Program. During this time frame, just shout out to the month of March, and that's when the MPO will likely entertain different scenarios for the Transportation Improvement Program, and potentially select a preferred set of projects. And then in April, MPO might see the release of a transportation improvement program along with a draft unified planning work program, and then reconvene in May to hear public comments, develop a revised draft of both documents as reflective of the public comment period, and then potentially endorse the revised documents. But the goal is to have the TIP developed and endorsed by May, because that's one of the documents that will help inform the MassDOT capital improvement program. So that's what we have for announcements. Certainly available for questions from the panel and also from the public.
So, Charlie, do you think Chris has one, right, Chris?
I do have one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there are no comments or questions, of course, for Charlie first.
But I was just going to do them all. Questions for both of you at the end. Go ahead, Chris.
Got it. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I want to let you all know that MassDOT's draft public participation plan is available for public review and comment through January 10th. So we're seeking your feedback on that draft plan. We've also released a brief survey about your experience participating in MassDOT public events. And Charlie was kind enough to post a link to those materials earlier. But if you misplaced this link for any reason, you can simply search MassDOT in your web browser. And our staff was kind enough to put a yellow notice and alert bar on that landing page, which will link you directly to that plan and that survey. And again, that comment period is open through January 10th. So please take some time to look at the plan and the survey. Survey is very brief. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for either Charlie or Chris? All right. I don't see any. Can we move to the next agenda item? All right. We're on the last one. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
No motion, Dan from Whitman. Lee Hartman, second.
All right. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. So I just want to underscore what Charlie said. Just our thanks for all working together this year and getting a lot of stuff done for Old Colony and the communities down your area, and just wishing everyone a great holiday season. We'll see you in the new year. Thank you, everybody.